Sometimes the hardest part isn't letting go. It's realizing they already let go a long time ago. Hey folks, gather around for a second because this one's going to hit deep. I don't care who you are. We've all had someone in our lives that we held on to way too tightly, hoping they'd change, waiting for them to see our worth, giving and giving until we had nothing left but silent disappointment and unanswered questions. Let's be real. Letting someone go feels like standing at the edge of a cliff with no parachute. Your mind screams, "What if I fall?" But here's what they never told you. You don't fall, you fly. Because the moment you stop chasing people who don't value you, everything begins to shift. You're not weak for letting go. You're strong for choosing peace over chaos. You're wise for not begging to stay where you're no longer wanted. You're brave for realizing that love shouldn't feel like walking through a minefield. That's not love. That's emotional roulette, and it always ends with you bleeding while they reload. Letting go isn't giving up, it's growing up. It's like removing a stone from your shoe after walking miles, pretending the pain wasn't real. You limp for a while, you question yourself, but eventually you realize you should have taken that stone out a long time ago. You know, my friends, there's a quote I keep close to my heart. Sometimes you have to forget what you feel and remember what you deserve. And you deserve peace. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve someone who doesn't just want you when it's convenient, but values you when it's hard. They won't tell you this, but I will. When you let go of someone who took you for granted, the silence you leave behind speaks louder than any goodbye. It echoes in their mind. It lingers in the spaces where your presence used to give them comfort. You don't have to scream. You don't have to beg. Just walk away with dignity and let the universe take it from there. Because here's the truth most folks don't want to hear. The moment you let them go is the moment you get yourself back. Your energy returns. Your glow comes back. The fog starts to lift, and that version of you they thought they could replace evolves into someone they can't even reach anymore. You're not here to convince someone to see your value. You are the value. You don't chase, you attract by being whole, grounded, and so at peace with yourself that losing someone doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. So I'm asking you right now, are you ready to stop begging for breadcrumbs and start feasting on your own strength? Are you ready to stop chasing what's walking away and finally walk toward the life you deserve? Because I promise you this, when you let go, everything changes. Not instantly, not magically, but slowly and surely, life begins to align. People who see you clearly start to appear. The weight on your chest begins to lift, and the person you once cried for becomes just another chapter you needed to outgrow. Now say it with me. I choose peace. Write that in the comments to claim your strength. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more truth bombs, and stay with me because we're only getting started. What's coming next? Oh, it's going to shake your entire perspective. Let's go deeper. Number 1, the fear of losing them comes from scarcity. You don't fear losing them because they're rare. You fear it because you've forgotten your own worth. Folks, let's talk about one of the biggest lies we've all been fed. The fear of losing someone we care about. That tight feeling in your chest. The knot in your stomach when they pull away or go silent. It's real. But here's the truth. The fear doesn't come from love. It comes from scarcity, and scarcity is a trap. Let me ask you something. Have you ever clung to someone, not because they were everything you needed, but because you were afraid you wouldn't find better? It's like holding onto a rusty key, convinced it's the only one that fits the lock to your future. But what if I told you it never fit to begin with? What if you were bending yourself out of shape trying to make it work when all along you were meant to find something that clicks effortlessly? We've been taught to think love is rare, that good people are hard to find, that once we lose someone, especially someone we deeply cared for, it's all downhill from there. But my friends, that's not truth. That's fear talking in a fancy voice. That's the voice of someone who hasn't realized yet that the ocean is full and we've been crying over a single drop. Think about it like this. If you walked into a store and they told you there was only one coat in the world that could ever fit you, you'd panic if someone else reached for it. You'd grab it, hold it tight, maybe even fight to keep it, even if it was the wrong size, the wrong color, or falling apart at the seams. That's how most people treat relationships, out of fear, not fit. But when you know there are thousands of coats, all different, all available, you stop stressing. You try one on. If it doesn't feel right, you hang it back up and move on. That's what emotional abundance looks like. That's what letting go from strength feels like. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy at first. Some of you might be thinking, but what if I never find someone like them again? Let me answer that with a better question. Why would you want someone exactly like the person who made you question your worth in the first place? Why would you want a repeat of the pain? Here's a quote I live by. Never cling to a person who leaves you confused more than they leave you comforted. Love should feel like sunlight, not a storm cloud that rolls in when you least expect it. It should bring clarity, not chaos. Now, look, letting go doesn't mean you never cared. It doesn't mean you weren't loyal or invested. It means you've decided to stop watering dead plants. You've realized that no matter how much love you pour into someone, it won't grow if it's not rooted in the right soil. People aren't possessions. They're not trophies to win or keep. And the moment you start believing that you need someone to feel whole, you hand them the keys to your peace. That's a dangerous place to live, my friends. You were never meant to be somebody's emotional prisoner. So here's the shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to win love. You start seeing yourself as someone who attracts love because of who you are. You become the kind of person people don't want to lose, not because you're playing games, but because your presence is peace. Your energy is rare. Your silence when you walk away is unforgettable. This isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming whole. It's about doing the work on yourself so deeply that when someone walks away, your world doesn't fall apart because you are the world. Letting go isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's the universe saying that chapter's over, now level up. So stop looking at what left and start asking who you're becoming. Because the version of you that begged, doubted, and overgave doesn't belong in the next season of your life. Right now, you might still be scared. That's okay. Growth always starts with a little fear, but fear is just the dust that collects on unused potential. Wipe it off. Stand up and remind yourself you are not someone who settles. You are someone who evolves. Write this down in the comments. I attract what I deserve. Let the world know. Let yourself know. Don't just say it, show it. Show it in the way you walk away from what no longer respects you. Show it in the way you glow up in silence. Show it in the way you finally stop chasing and start becoming. Number 2, they feel when you're afraid to lose them, and it kills attraction. The moment you start fearing their absence, you lose the magic of your presence. My friends, listen closely, because this one is going to sting a little before it sets you free. People, especially the ones we care about, can feel when we're scared to lose them. Not because they're psychic, but because energy never lies. You can say all the right words and wear all the confidence in the world on your face, but if deep down you're terrified they might walk away, it shows. It shows in the way you text too fast. It shows in how you second-guess yourself. It shows in the way you tiptoe around their moods just to avoid rocking the boat. And once they sense it, once they realize that you're the one holding on tighter than they are, something shifts. The balance of energy tips, the mystery dissolves, the chase dies, and with it, so does attraction. It's human nature. When someone believes you'll stay, no matter how they act, they stop showing up with the same effort. It's like playing a game where the outcome is already decided. The fun disappears, the excitement fades, respect starts to slip away like sand between your fingers. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're holding a bird gently in your hands. If you grip it too tight out of fear that it might fly away, you suffocate it. If you leave your hands open, it may still fly, but if it returns, that's how you know it chose you. That's what emotional power looks like, not controlling someone else, but being in control of yourself. Now, let's talk about one of the oldest, most misunderstood behaviors in relationships: the test. Yep, some people test others, not always out of malice, but out of instinct. They get quiet, they take longer to reply, they act distant. Sometimes they even bring up walking away just to see how you'll react. Is it immature? Maybe, but it's also real. And the reason they test you isn't to break you, it's to measure you, to see what you're made of, to find out if you crumble under pressure or if you stand grounded in your own value. So what happens when you react from fear? You chase harder, you overcompensate, you try to fix things that aren't even broken. You hand them the steering wheel and sit quietly in the passenger seat of your own worth. But here's the thing, folks. When you act like they're the prize, they start to believe you aren't. Let that sink in, because it's not about being cold. It's not about playing games. It's about knowing this truth. Your value doesn't decrease just because someone else doesn't see it clearly. Your calmness isn't weakness, it's confidence. It says, I care about you, but I care about me too. Let's take it even deeper. Why does the fear of loss feel so strong? Because it connects to something primal, something we picked up from childhood, from heartbreaks, from abandonment wounds. We equate someone walking away with us being not enough. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if someone walking away says more about their limits than yours? You weren't made to panic every time someone pulls away. You were made to stand still in the storm and say, I'm still whole without you. And when you show that kind of emotional strength, when you stop flinching every time someone withdraws their energy, something wild happens. They lean back in. Why? Because confidence is magnetic. Because people are drawn to those who know their worth, not those who beg to be seen. You want to be unforgettable? Here's how. Stay centered when everything around you feels uncertain. Don't react. Don't chase. Don't collapse. Watch, observe, and remain calm. Because the one who stays calm in chaos is the one others trust. That's the one others respect. A person who knows they'll be okay if someone leaves is someone others don't want to lose. Simple as that. Let's break the lie. Being emotionally strong doesn't mean being unfeeling. It means you've trained yourself not to let someone else's behavior control your peace. It means you can hold space for someone without gripping tightly. It means you can love without losing yourself. That's the kind of energy that makes people second-guess walking away from you. Not fear, not begging, but presence, peace, and power. Here's a quote I want you to hold on to like gold. Your silence should make more noise than your words ever could. If they distance themselves, don't chase. If they test you, don't flinch. If they leave, let them. Because if someone can walk away from the kind of peace you bring, they weren't meant to stay in your presence anyway. Now, you might ask, what if I lose them forever by staying calm? Well, here's the real question. Why do you want someone who only stays when you're panicking? That's not love. That's emotional blackmail dressed in affection. You don't want that. You want someone who stays because they respect your calm, not someone who plays with your fear. And look, I get it. It's hard when someone pulls away. Your heart wants to fix it. Your ego wants to chase. Your mind runs wild with worst-case scenarios. But that's the old version of you, the one who didn't know how powerful stillness can be. Now you do. So breathe deep, relax your grip, let go of the panic, and remind yourself you are the storm and the calm, the mountain and the flame. You are the prize. Say it in the comments right now. I choose calm power. Don't just type it, own it, show it, live it, prove it to yourself. Press that like button if you're done letting fear lead your story. Subscribe if you're ready to become unshakable. Stay with me, we're just warming up. Number 3, no one is special until they prove it. Don't hand someone the crown before they've earned the kingdom. All right, folks, let's be real for a second. How many times have you met someone charming, attractive, maybe even a little mysterious, and without even realizing it, you started building them a throne in your mind? You saw them through rose-colored glasses, not because they proved they were rare, but because they made you feel something. And in that rush of emotion, you forgot to ask the most important question: what have they actually done to earn this place in my life? Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being excited about someone new. That spark, that connection, it's a beautiful thing. But that's not enough, because feelings can be deceiving. Just because someone gives you butterflies doesn't mean they deserve your loyalty. Just because they're fun to talk to, easy on the eyes, or make your heart skip a beat doesn't mean they're meant to walk beside you. Too many people, men and women alike, fall into the trap of giving too much too soon. You meet someone and suddenly, without even thinking, you're investing time, energy, emotion, even your peace, all before they've shown you who they really are. You're treating a stranger like royalty because they showed up dressed nicely, said the right things, and gave you attention when you were feeling lonely. Let me tell you something harsh, but true. Attention is cheap. Character is priceless. It's like walking into a car dealership, seeing a shiny new car, and buying it without even checking the engine. You fall for the paint job, you ignore the red flags, and weeks later, when it breaks down, you're shocked. But deep down, you know the truth. You didn't ask the right questions. You didn't take the time to observe. You were so focused on how it made you feel that you forgot to ask if it could take you where you really needed to go. That's what this part of the journey is about. Observation, patience, discernment, not just feeling good, but being treated well. Not just liking someone, but seeing how they show up when life isn't perfect. Because no one is special until they prove it. A person who knows their worth doesn't get blinded by beauty or smooth talk. They watch, they listen. They don't fall for potential. They pay attention to patterns. They don't assume someone is loyal. They wait to see if that loyalty holds when things get uncomfortable. And here's something a lot of people won't tell you. The right people want to earn your trust. They want to show you they're reliable, that they bring value, that they're not just here for a season, but are here to build something with you. The moment you make that too easy, the moment you throw out the red carpet before they've even taken their shoes off, you rob them of the chance to show you what they're made of. It's not about playing games, it's about protecting your peace. Let's take a moment to break this lie we've all been told, that if you don't give people everything up front, they'll leave. That's fear talking. The truth is, if someone leaves because you didn't give them VIP treatment instantly, they were never here for the right reasons. Let them walk. The ones who are truly meant for you will show you through consistency, kindness, and effort, not just chemistry. Because folks, love isn't proven in the highs. It's proven in the lows. Anyone can be sweet when things are new. Anyone can say the right things in the honeymoon phase. But who sticks around when life gets messy? Who shows up when you're not at your best? That's what you're looking for. So don't be afraid to raise your standards. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know yet if this person is special. That's not cold. That's wise. That's mature. That's the mindset of someone who's done the work to value themselves. And here's the crazy thing. When you carry yourself with that energy, something shifts. People notice, because in a world where everyone is trying to be chosen, you're the one doing the choosing, and that makes you magnetic. Let me say this loud for the ones in the back. You do not owe anyone access to your heart just because they're attractive. You don't owe anyone your emotional investment just because they made you feel seen for a moment. Access to you should be earned, not through perfection, but through intention, through effort, through actions that match words. A truly valuable connection should feel like a partnership, a dance where both people are giving, not one person pulling all the weight while the other just enjoys the ride. So here's the shift. Stop rushing to crown someone in your life. Stop handing out loyalty discounts to people who haven't paid full price with their consistency, honesty, and time. And definitely stop putting people on a pedestal just because they sparked a little excitement. Remember this quote: "Don't confuse a spark with a flame. One lights up for a moment, the other stays burning." Say it again. No one is special until they prove it, and that includes you, too. You don't get to just sit back and expect someone to prove themselves while you give nothing in return. This goes both ways. Be someone worth earning. Be someone who holds space, not because you're desperate, but because you're discerning. If they're the right one, they'll prove it. You won't have to force it. You won't have to question it. You won't have to beg for the bare minimum. So now I want you to write this in the comments. Earned, not assumed. Let that be your new standard. Let it guide how you love, who you trust, and what kind of energy you accept in your space. Number 4, detachment equals power. You lose control the moment you make someone else the center of your peace. Let's talk about something most people get wrong: detachment. Now don't confuse it with being cold, heartless, or rude. That's not detachment. That's emotional immaturity, wearing sunglasses, trying to look cool. Real detachment is something far deeper and far more powerful. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you enjoy someone's presence, but you don't fear their absence. It means you can love without losing yourself. It's emotional freedom. It's inner stability. It's walking into a connection without trying to control how it ends. My friends, the strongest people in the world, the ones who walk with quiet confidence, who move like they own the room without saying a word, they all have one thing in common. They're not attached to the outcome. They know who they are, they know what they bring, and they know that if someone leaves, they're not broken, they're just redirected. That's the kind of mindset that changes everything. When someone knows that you enjoy their company but don't need it, they start seeing you differently. You stop being someone they can control and start becoming someone they respect. You stop being an option they take for granted and start becoming a presence they fight to keep. Why? Because your energy says, "I don't chase, I attract. And if you don't value me, I'll walk away without flinching." That's magnetic, that's rare, that's power. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine holding a ball of water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, with open palms, it stays. Relationships are like that. When you're gripped with fear, fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, you try too hard, you push, you please, you overgive, and they feel it. People can feel desperation even if you never say a word. But when you're grounded in yourself, when you're truly okay with whatever happens, whether they stay, leave, ghost, test you, or love you, you become someone they can't forget. Why? Because peace is powerful, because confidence is calming, because people are drawn to those who don't beg to be chosen. Here's the lie we need to destroy. If I don't show them how much I care all the time, I'll lose them. No, the truth is this. The moment you make someone your oxygen, they stop appreciating the air. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring people or not loving them. It means not abandoning yourself in the process. It means your self-worth isn't riding on whether or not they stay. You're not performing. You're not auditioning. You're showing up as you are and saying, "This is me. I'd love for you to be part of this, but I'll be fine either way." And here's what people don't talk about enough. When someone senses you need them, they gain the upper hand. Not necessarily because they're manipulative, but because humans are wired to value what they work for, not what's handed to them. If they didn't have to earn your attention, your affection, your energy, they won't fight to keep it. But flip the script. Be someone they have to earn. Be someone who can walk away at any moment, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. And suddenly the energy shifts. Suddenly they're asking themselves, how do I keep someone like you in my life? Because real value is calm. It's still. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just is. Here's a quote that cuts deep. The less you respond to negativity, the more powerful you become. Now take that and apply it to relationships. The less you react from fear, the more you rise into power. The less you panic when they test you, the more they question what kind of strength you're operating from. Because someone who can sit in silence without chasing, explaining, or overcompensating is someone who has mastered themselves. And let's be honest, it's not easy. When you care about someone, when you're emotionally invested, the urge to hold on is strong. You want to fix things, you want to make it work, you want to prove you're worth it. But ask yourself this, why do you need to prove what should already be obvious? When someone is truly for you, you won't have to fight for basic effort. You won't have to beg for time, attention, or clarity. So if you're finding yourself doing that, it's not a relationship, it's a performance. And you deserve better than applause for surviving a stage you should have walked off months ago. So what's the answer? How do you step into this kind of detachment? You work on you. You build your self-worth like a fortress. You fill your life with purpose, peace, and people who value you. You stop needing one person to validate your entire identity. You realize that you are already whole, and anyone who comes into your life should add to it, not complete it. Because guess what? You don't lose people who are meant for you. You only lose people who were borrowing your light without ever giving any of their own. Now breathe. This isn't about being cold. It's about being complete. This is about becoming someone who doesn't need love to feel valuable, but attracts it anyway because you radiate self-respect. So here's your affirmation. I don't chase, I attract. Write that in the comments if you're ready to stop tying your power to people's presence. Number 5, never be afraid to punish disrespect. You don't get what you deserve in life. You get what you tolerate. Let's talk about something most people are afraid to face: disrespect. It shows up quietly at first, a little sarcasm that cuts too deep, a message ignored, a promise broken, a moment when they speak to you like your time, your presence, or your boundaries don't matter. And the truth is, how you respond in that moment says everything, not about them, but about you. See, people don't just test you in relationships to be cruel. They test you to find the edge, to see where your limits are, to feel whether you're grounded in self-respect or just pretending to be. They want to know, can I cross this line? Can I get away with this? Will they let this slide? And here's the uncomfortable truth. What you allow, you teach. Every time you brush off something that made you feel small, just to keep the peace, you're telling them exactly what your boundaries are worth. Nothing. Now, don't get it twisted. This isn't about overreacting. It's not about being aggressive or confrontational for no reason. This is about knowing the difference between compassion and compromise. and realizing that tolerating disrespect isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. You wouldn't let someone walk into your home and smash your furniture, right? So why let someone step into your life and tear down your confidence, your worth, your voice? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're building a castle. You've laid every brick with effort, your confidence, your values, your goals. It's taken years to get those walls up strong. And then someone walks in and starts carving their name on your stone, laughing, dismissing, taking little shots at your identity. You can either let them vandalize what you've built, or you can stop them at the door and say, "This place is sacred." You either treat it with respect or leave. Because here's the real rule. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries, they don't deserve your presence. Some of you might still be afraid to speak up. You might be thinking, what if they get mad? What if I lose them? But ask yourself this. What are you really losing if someone leaves just because you asked for basic respect? That's not a loss. That's liberation. Respect and attraction go hand in hand. The moment someone stops respecting you, the connection begins to rot. You can't build love where there's no foundation of mutual regard. And if you're constantly tiptoeing, afraid of setting boundaries, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. People will only treat you the way you enforce. You deserve to be treated. Let me give you a quote that cuts deep. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and still love myself. That's the balance, that's the line. And when someone crosses it, when they test you, talk down to you, or ignore what you've expressed, your job isn't to hope they change, it's to respond. You call it out calmly and clearly. You let them know, hey, that didn't sit right with me. You don't need to raise your voice. You just need to raise your standards. And if they adjust, if they show awareness and growth, beautiful. That's maturity. That's someone who values you enough to listen and evolve. But if they brush it off, laugh in your face, or do it again even after you've spoken up, then it's time to walk away. Because the moment you tolerate the first wound without a word, you give permission for the second. And before you know it, you're bleeding silently in a connection that's draining the life out of you. Some people won't change unless they see consequences. That's just the reality. And consequences aren't cruel, they are clarity. They show others, this is where I stand. Cross it again, and I remove myself. It's not about punishing someone, it's about protecting yourself. And let's be honest, when you stop tolerating disrespect, something shifts. You gain back your power. You become someone who's not just likable, but unshakable. You become the kind of person others don't mess with lightly. Not because you're scary, but because your energy says, I know my worth and I won't forget it just to keep you comfortable. That energy is rare, it's respected. And ironically, the people who once tested you begin to value you more, not less. Because deep down, everyone respects the ones who respect themselves first. So here's the mindset shift. You're not here to beg for respect. You're here to expect it. You're not here to silence your boundaries to keep the peace. You're here to honor your boundaries, to protect your peace. That's how you win, whether they step up and grow with you or step out and show they never belonged. That's not your loss, that's your filter doing its job. Say this out loud, my standards are non-negotiable. Now write it in the comments to lock it in. If you've ever stayed quiet when someone disrespected you, today is the day that changes. Number 6, never overinvest more than they do. Never pour your whole soul into someone who hasn't even brought a cup. Let's break something that's been ruining good people for far too long. Overinvesting in someone who hasn't earned it. Now listen closely, my friends, because this isn't just a relationship problem, it's a self-worth problem. Too many people lead with giving time, energy, emotion, sometimes even money, all offered on a silver platter to someone they barely know. Why? because they feel like they have to prove they're worth loving. But here's the truth. When you give too much, too soon, you don't impress them, you overwhelm them. And even worse, you teach them that your love is cheap, that your effort is automatic, that they don't have to do anything to keep receiving all of you. And when someone doesn't have to earn your presence, they stop valuing it. Let me put it this way. Imagine walking into a luxury store, and before you even ask, the clerk hands you a $5,000 watch for free. No questions, no commitment. Just here you go, take it. What would you think? You'd assume it's fake. You'd assume something's off. Because anything truly valuable is never handed out like candy. It's protected, it's measured, it's earned. That's how your energy should be. Exclusive, intentional, valuable. But when you rush to give everything, texting constantly, planning every date, bending over backward to please someone who hasn't even proven consistency, you throw the whole balance off. Suddenly they're not wondering how to win you over. They're wondering why you're trying so hard. And here's the dark truth. The second they feel they've already got you, the mystery dies, the desire fades, and the respect goes first. Because effort isn't just about action, it's about timing. Unmatched effort feels like pressure. It feels like noise. It feels like you're trying to buy affection instead of build a connection. But this isn't about being heartless. It's about having emotional discipline. Relationships should be mirrors, equal reflection. If you smile, they smile back. If you lean in, they meet you halfway, not just receive everything while sitting back with crossed arms. That's not a connection, that's an energy drain. And here's what most people do wrong. They lead with investment instead of curiosity. They give before they even observe. They chase validation instead of watching for reciprocation. And it always ends the same way. Exhaustion, confusion, and a slow fade from the one they tried so hard to impress. Why? Because you didn't match their effort. You tried to force the bond with yours. Here's what you need to know. The right person doesn't need to be overwhelmed. They need to be inspired by your peace, your standards, your patience, your ability to hold back just enough to say, I'm open to this, but only if it flows both ways. Let's flip the script right here. You don't prove your value by doing more. You prove it by doing just enough and then watching what they do. Effort should be like a dance. One step, not one person sprinting while the other stands still. Here's a quote that hits deep. Stop watering gardens that don't water you back. Let that sink in. Now, does that mean you shouldn't care? Of course not. It means you give with awareness. You love with boundaries. You invest based on evidence, not just emotion. Let me ask you something. Would you pour all your savings into a business that hasn't shown you any profit? Would you give your all to a company that doesn't even know your name? Then why give your heart, time, and energy to someone who hasn't even shown up consistently? People respect what they earn. It's human nature. So let them earn you. Let them show you who they are over time. Not just who they say they are, but who they prove themselves to be when it's inconvenient, when things aren't perfect, when the masks come off. And if they're only interested in the version of you that overgives, overextends, and overcompensates, they're not interested in you. They're interested in what they can get from you. That's not love. That's access without accountability. The people who win in relationships aren't the ones who try the hardest to be liked. They're the ones who are willing to walk away if the other person doesn't match their energy. Not in a dramatic way, but in a calm, grounded way that says, I'm not afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to lose myself while trying to keep someone else. That's the shift. That's the power. And guess what happens when you carry that energy? People chase you. Not because you played games, but because you're not chasing anyone. You're living, growing, and observing, and that space you hold becomes magnetic. You don't win someone over by drowning them in effort. You win by being aligned with yourself, by offering your presence without selling your peace. So if you've ever felt drained in a connection, if you've ever looked back and thought, I gave way more than they did, this is your wake-up call. Stop proving, start observing. Let your effort rise to their level, not beyond it. Now say this out loud and then write it in the comments. I match energy, not desperation. Let that be your new standard, not because you're cold, but because you're clear, because you finally realized your love is not a currency to throw at random. It's an investment to protect. If this hits you in the chest, press that like button and subscribe for more clarity, more truth, more strength. And stay with me because the next part is where it all comes together, where we show how silence, standards, and self-worth will always speak louder than any words you could ever say. Folks, I will see you in the next video.